What kinds of benefits are you, the taxpayer, going to get from stadiums across the country hosting an international soccer tournament? That's a question many are pondering, as taxpayer resources may be devoted to helping facilitate the World Cup. Now, next Thursday, World Cup matches kick off in Mexico City and Guadalajara. But June 12th, Los Angeles will host the USA versus Paraguay match. Then it's consecutive days of matches in Boston, New York, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Houston, Dallas, Miami, Atlanta, Seattle, and Kansas City. Matches are scheduled throughout the month of June. The finals begin July 18th in Miami for the bronze finish, and the gold match taking place in New York, New Jersey Stadium, July 19th. Now, 8 World Cup games will be played in Georgia's capital city, beginning June 15th with a match between Spain and Cabo Verde. In Georgia, the Center Square associate editor Kim Jarrett reports the chief economist for the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce authored a 2024 analysis estimating a $503.2 million impact on the state of Georgia based on out-of-state visitors alone. Now, the report said the World Cup is a unique event that attracts a wildly enthusiastic fan base, but there are questions about the true economic impact. Victor Matheson talked with Kim Jarrett. He's from the College of the Holy Cross, and he said there's reasons that there may not be as much of an economic boon as some have estimated.
Most of the people who are going to be in that stadium in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium are going to be locals, right? You can't fill a 75,000 seat stadium for every game, especially when you're talking about some very small countries with small fan bases coming. And so that means most of the tickets are going to be bought by local residents. And they're just going to be spending their money at the Mercedes-Benz Arena stadium rather than elsewhere in the local Georgia economy. So the money that gets spent there is not increasing the total size of my entertainment budget, which means I have to cut back on Braves tickets, on Atlanta United tickets, on hot dogs at this great place right north of downtown Atlanta that I've been to. These sort of things. The amount of the money I spend one place is money that's not available to spend elsewhere. That's what's known as the substitution effect.
Now, Matheson said that massive economic boon will be for FIFA, who organizes the World Cup. They stand to make $10 billion to $11 billion on the event. Now, joining us to talk more about questions surrounding the economic impact of such events, someone who's watching this very closely across the country, the Center Square reporter John Styf. John, thanks for taking time with us. From what you've gathered looking into the impacts of professional sports and other entertainment venues across the country, World Cup aside, are there economic impacts for the taxpayers for these types of events?
There certainly are. People go to the events, people are going to spend money at the events, but the problem is what's pitched versus what actually occurs. There's these big numbers that you see heading into an event because local officials want to bring that event there. They feel like it makes them important. It makes the city important. It gets the city's name out there. The problem is that those numbers never come to fruition. One of the biggest things that happens is hotel prices get jacked up, and other people who would normally go visit a city like Atlanta or even Chicago this weekend when they play a friendly match against Germany wouldn't necessarily go to that city because they look at the hotel prices and they've gone through the roof. Conventions don't want to go to Atlanta during the World Cup. Other things like that just kind of move out of the way or schedule for a different time of year.
How much are taxpayers assisting with these types of events? I would imagine there's got to be a security component. We've heard even the White House talking about how, security for the World Cup is going to be great. It's going to be the best security ever. But there's got to be a taxpayer cost to all of this.
There's huge taxpayer costs. There were taxpayer costs on the front end of this trying to bring in these events. A city like Nashville that didn't even get the event spent money trying to lure it there and saying, hey, we have a new football stadium. We want to have matches here. So there's a wide-ranging cost, both in expanding transit and in that security that you're talking about in the downtown areas, because it's not only the matches, but they shut down different areas of the downtowns for events around the World Cup matches.
We heard the economist earlier talk about just one area where he says it might not be the boost that everybody's looking for because, it's going to be more local people who are already spending entertainment dollars there. And some of these matches may be from countries that are tiny and, people aren't going to travel from that country all the way to Atlanta or all the way to LA or New York or Guadalajara or wherever these matches are taking place. That's just one criticism I haven't really thought about. What are some other things that taxpayers and those in these local economies across the country should consider whenever they see those road closures, the enhanced police presence, the hotels that are jacked up in prices, and the long waits at various restaurants? What should they be thinking about?
Well, it's not different than the NFL draft, which was recently in Pittsburgh, and all the businesses there were promised, "Hey, we're gonna have a bunch of people come to town. They're gonna go to this thing." And what actually happened is it was a bunch of local people. They stayed within kind of the guardrails of the NFL draft, and they didn't venture out to other areas of Pittsburgh. Same thing happened when Las Vegas brought in the F1 race. They shut down the strip, they shut down all the roads there, and they told the businesses, "Hey, you're going to get a lot more people," but they actually got less because it was really hard to get to things. Because not unlike a political convention like you've been to in Milwaukee, they shut down a huge area around it, and it's really hard to get into those things. It's not necessarily bringing more people there. There's a lot of deterrence because of all the literal guardrails that are up, and people saying, "Well, you can't come here for security reasons."
Definitely something to consider as we see these games starting up all throughout the country for the World Cup. And John, I don't even watch sports, but I know that as taxpayers look at this, whether or not you watch sports, there might be some impact on you in your local jurisdiction. Greatly appreciate you taking the time with us here for the Center Square Daily.